I welcome you all for this Indian polity class. We will continue the Constitution. In the last class we have seen the classification, assessment and the criticism of directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy, part 4. What we have seen is the classification, assessment, criticism of the directive principles of state policy. Today we will see the difference between fundamental rights and directive principles. Fundamental rights and directive principles, which is important from the examination point of view. Very important, both for the final as well as for the preliminary. First is, remember, fundamental rights are negative in character, whereas the directive principles are positive. Secondly, the fundamental rights prohibits the state from doing certain things. Don't do. On the other hand, the directive principles are positive, affirmative action. Directive principles are directive to take positive, proactive and affirmative action. So it is asking the state to take some positive action, affirmative action, proactive measure. This is second difference. Thirdly, fundamental rights are protected by Article 13. I have told you a number of times. Article 13 is the judicial review and enforceable through court of law under Article 32 by the Supreme Court, under Article 226 by the High Court. What Article 13 says? The state shall not make any law which takes away or abridges any of the rights conferred in Part 3 of the Constitution. If any law is made taking away or abridging any of the rights conferred in Part 3 of the Constitution, that law, to the extent of repugnancy, is null and void. This is Article 13. Article 12 defines the state, which includes union legislature, state legislatures, union executives, state executives, local bodies and other authorities. Everything which has a force of law has been included under the term state. And article defines law. Law includes acts, ordinance, regulations, instructions and rules, bylaws, custom, usage, everything. So this is the fundamental rights are protected by Article 13, judicial review, which I just now told you, and enforceable through Article 32 by the Supreme Court and Article 226 by the High Court. Supreme Court being the custodian of the Constitution and guarantor of the fundamental right, it cannot say no because it itself is a fundamental right. On the other hand, directive principles are non-justiciable and they cannot be enforced through court of law. It cannot be enforced. First, Article 37 itself says it is non-justiciable. But there is no other clarification needed. Article 37 straightaway says it is non-justiciable. That's all. So, directive principles are non-justiciable and they cannot be enforced through court of law. Nevertheless, remember, nevertheless, directive principles of state policy not completely toothless. By virtue of Article 37, and by various decisions of the Supreme Court, many of the directives have been kept at par with fundamental rights, which we will come later. Fourthly, the fundamental rights aim to set up a political democracy, whereas the directive principles focus on socio-economic democracy. And fifthly, the fundamental rights have a legal sanction, as I have just now told you, whereas the directive principles have moral and political sanction. And sixthly, the fundamental rights promote the welfare of the individual, whereas directive principle promotes the welfare of the community. Remember, whatever we say in the directive principles are all for the society. Socio-economic reform, macroeconomics. Whereas in the case of fundamental rights, it protects the freedom, liberty of the individual. Remember. Then seventhly, fundamental rights normally, remember, underline the word normally, do not require backup of any law except a few. While directive principles need the support of legislation, which has of course been provided in Article 37. Normally, fundamental rights do not require any backup of any law except a few. Untouchability, it requires a law, otherwise there is no use. Whereas for every directive there should be a law, otherwise directive cannot be implemented. So see the difference. Fundamental rights automatically can be implemented except a few. Abolition of titles, abolition of untouchability. These are non-executory. Whereas other equality clause automatically enforceable. On the other hand, directive principle, there is no automatic implementation. You have to make a law for everything. You have to living wage, you have to make a law. Minimum wage, you have to make a law. Right to work, you have to make a law. Right to education, you have to make a law. So, Article 37 gives the powers to the state. In fact, it gives the directive to the state to apply these principles while making law. Eighthly, the courts are bound to declare any law as unconstitutional if such a law has violated the fundamental rights by virtue of Article 13 and 32. See, I just now told you, the courts are bound to declare any law as unconstitutional if such a law violates the fundamental rights by virtue of Article 13, I just now told you. And Article 32, the enforcing machinery is Supreme Court. And Article 13 gives the powers of judicial review, and Article 32 makes the Supreme Court the guarantor of fundamental rights. Directive principles of state policy have no such protection, but the courts can uphold the validity of any law if such a law was enacted to implement a directive in the directive principles. That provision is there. You cannot, the court cannot enforce the state to implement this. No, it is not possible. Even in the case of Uniform Civil Code, court has wanted only a status report. What action you have taken, that's all. They never give a directive. In fact, at a later stage, it's only arbiter dictum. It's only side remarks. We did not mean it. So, you cannot, the courts cannot issue a direction to implement the directive principles. And in fact, the right to education, they gave in 2 cases, only that. So, most of the directive principles for implementation, they require a law. Whereas on the other hand, the fundamental rights, there is no need for such a law. Secondly, most important, the extent of implementation of directive principles. The extent of implementation of directive principles largely depend on the awakening and the awareness of the people and the electorate. Whereas in the case of fundamental rights, the courts, court of law, courts, Supreme Court, High Court, media, and the non-governmental organization, social activists take care that the fundamental rights are not violated to a large extent. There is because even a postcard can revive the Supreme Court after PIL. There is no locus standi. Anybody can go to the Supreme Court. So it should be a genuine cause. That is the second point. That is a genuine cause. So Supreme Court will enforce the fundamental right. Such a provision is not there for the directive principles. Now let us come to the conflict of directive principle and fundamental right. What is the conflict? Is there real conflict? I have already told you that the fundamental rights are kept at a high pedestal, duly protected by Article 13 and Article 32. Remember, I also told you that the term state mentioned in Article 12 as well as in 36, mentioned in Article 12 and 36 includes every branch of the state, including union legislatures, state legislatures, union executives, state executives, and local bodies and other authorities. Similarly, the term law in the Article 13 includes not only ordinance, not only act, but also the bylaws, regulations, orders, notifications, instructions, custom and usage. These 2 points, kindly remember, it is very important for every fundamental rights and directive principle. These 2 terms are very important. Let me repeat that if any action, if any act or any legislative measure taken by the state includes the definition, remember, violates the fundamental right given in Part 3, Supreme Court is bound to declare such a law, such a measure, such an action unconstitutional under Article 32. In the case of directive principle of state policy, there is no such legal sanction or protection from Article 32. Nevertheless, the directive principles of state policy has a moral sanction and also support of Article 37, under which it has been made abundantly clear that these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country, and also it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making law. But we should not forget that the directive principles of state policy have been expressly made non-justiciable. The first sentence of Article 13 is, these are non-justiciable. That you should not forget. Now, these constitutional provisions, both contradiction, Article 37 vis-a-vis Article 13 and 32, these constitutional provisions at the initial stage have led to conflicts between the two, that is Article 13 and 32 on the one hand, fundamental rights, Article 37 and directive principles on the other hand. There is a number of cases there was conflict. The first case which you should remember is what is called Shenbagam Dorarajan versus State of Madras of 1951. The case is very simple. There was a Brahmin girl, Shenbagam. In 1951 case, remember, she was denied admission in a medical college though she scored very high marks in the 11th standard or whatever it is. In the same college, another candidate who scored less marks than Shenbagam got admission. Now, in the Madras government, then Madras government, there was a system of communal representation, communal roster for admission in education institutions and other areas. That reservation was there right from 1927, that reservation policy. There were only 4 medical colleges and 4 engineering colleges in Madras, which comprised of even Kerala, and then what is known as Andhra Pradesh. Now, there are seats allocated to various communities, non-Brahmins, Brahmins, Anglo-Indians, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward classes, and Harijans, etc., and other people. Now, this having been denied admission, the Shenbagam filed a writ petition in the Madras High Court. What is her argument? My fundamental right given in Article 15 and Article 29 within bracket 2 have been denied by the state. Article 15 says prohibition of discrimination on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. Article 29(2), clause 2 of 29, Article 29 says admission in education institution cannot be denied if such education institutions getting aid from the state are maintained purely out of state funds on the ground of religion, race, caste, what is known as language. It should not be denied. So, this is the... But the High Court said, if there is a clash between the what is known as fundamental right and directive principles, fundamental rights will override the directive principles. So, this was the case. Rest of the thing we will see tomorrow. Thank you.